They can led my wedding 3 days before I was supposed to walk down that aisle. His mama stood in my living room, smiling while she handed me back my ring. But what they didn't know, I already owned everything. And baby, I was about to show them exactly what that meant. Before I tell you how I made them all regret the day they tried to play me, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You're going to want to see how this story ends. And trust me, drop a comment right now with the word karma if you believe what goes around comes around. Now, let me take you back to where this mess started. You know that feeling when you think everything in your life is finally falling into place? That's where I was 32 years old, senior partner at one of the best law firms in the city, and 3 days away from marrying the man I thought was my soulmate. Trevor and I had been together for 4 years. 4 years of building what I thought was a future. The wedding was planned down to the last detail. 200 guests, a venue that looked like something out of a fairy tale. My dress was hanging in my closet, still wrapped in silk, waiting for Saturday. But let me tell you something about fairy tales. They don't prepare you for the monsters that smile in your face. It was Wednesday evening. I remember because I was going through the seating chart one last time, making sure Trevor's family and my family wouldn't end up at tables where old drama could resurface. That's when my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, but when I looked through the peephole, there they were, Trevor and his mother, Helen. My stomach dropped. You know that feeling when you just know something is wrong? Yeah, that hit me like a freight train. But I opened the door anyway because that's what you do when you're about to marry someone. You open the door, you let them in, even when every instinct tells you to run. Helen walked in first, and I'll never forget the look on her face. It was this mixture of fake concern and barely hidden satisfaction. She was wearing her church clothes, the ones she wore when she wanted to look respectable while doing something completely disrespectful. Trevor followed behind her. Couldn't even look me in the eye. That's when I knew whatever was about to happen, he was too weak to do it alone. He needed his mama to hold his hand. Sweetheart, Helen started. And I wanted to stop her right there because she only called me sweetheart when she was about to say something that would hurt. We need to talk to you about Saturday. I stood there in my own living room, the one I paid for with my own money, and watched this woman prepare to destroy my life. Trevor still hadn't said a word. He was looking at the floor like the answers to his cowardice were written in my hardwood. The wedding is off, Helen said. Simple as that. Like she was telling me dinner was ready or the weather was nice. Trevor has realized he's not ready for this commitment. You two are just too different. And we think it's better to end this now before anyone gets hurt worse. Before anyone gets hurt worse. As if I wasn't standing right there already bleeding from words she just stabbed me with. I looked at Trevor, waiting for him to say something, anything. But he just pulled my engagement ring from his pocket, the one I'd worn for 2 years, and placed it on my coffee table. That's when Helen smiled. Actually smiled. I know this is hard, dear, but it's for the best. You'll understand someday. They left just like that. Walked out of my apartment, and my life like the last 4 years meant nothing. I stood there staring at that ring on my table. And you know what I felt? I felt anger. Pure burning anger. Not the crying kind, the calculating kind. See, what Helen and Trevor didn't know was that I'm a lawyer. A damn good one. And about 6 months ago, I noticed something. Trevor's little tech startup that he was so proud of. It was drowning. Bills piling up, investors pulling out. The whole thing was going under. And Trevor, being Trevor, was too proud to tell me. Too proud to ask for help. But I saw the stress. I saw the late nights and the worried looks. So I did what I do best. I handled it quietly, carefully, legally. I bought into his company. Actually, let me be clear. I bought his company. My name went on every legal document as the primary owner. Trevor thought some anonymous investor group had saved him. He had no idea he was working for me. And that restaurant Helen was so proud of. The one that had been in their family for 30 years. The one she always threw in my face. Like I could never understand family legacy. I owned the mortgage on that, too. When the bank was about to foreclose, I bought the debt. Helen thought some corporate entity had refinanced their loan. She had no idea that every month she was paying me. The beach house we stayed at on weekends. Trevor's name wasn't on that deed. The car he drove, leased in my name. Even the savings account he thought was his joint account with my name as the primary holder. I had protected us, protected our future. Or so I thought. That night after they left, I couldn't sleep. Something wasn't adding up. Trevor wasn't the type to just walk away. Weak, that was new. So, I did what any woman with questions does in this digital age. I started digging. It took me 2 hours to find her. Angela, 26 years old, sweet smile, worked at a bank downtown, and she was friends with Helen's best friend's daughter. The pictures went back 3 months. 3 months of Trevor living a double life. Dinners, I thought, were business meetings. Weekend trips, he said, were for work. All of it was with her. But here's the thing that made my blood boil. In one of Angela's posts, she was wearing my ring. Not the one Trevor just gave back to me. No, a different ring. He'd bought her a ring. With what money? My money. The money from the company I owned. He was courting another woman with my own funds. I called my best friend, Candice. She's a lawyer, too. Specializes in property and business law. I needed to make sure everything I'd set up was airtight. Girl, she said when I told her what happened. You already own him. The question is, what are you going to do about it? That's when I found out about the real plan. Through some friends of friends, word travels fast in our circle. Helen wasn't just canceling my wedding. She was replacing it. Same venue, same weekend. She was trying to use the vendors I'd booked, the flowers I'd chosen, the cake I'd tasted a dozen times to find the perfect flavor. Angela was going to get my wedding. They were going to erase me like I never existed. Except they forgot one crucial detail. I owned the contract with that venue. My name, my deposit, my date. The venue coordinator had already called me, confused about why someone else was trying to book my slot. Friday came and I spent the day getting everything in order. Candice and I went through every document, every deed, every piece of paper with my signature on it. It was all legal, all proper, all mine. That evening, I got my hair done, got my nails done, picked up my wedding dress from the boutique. If they wanted a wedding on Saturday, they were going to get one, just not the one they planned. Saturday morning, I woke up calm. I'd barely slept, but I felt this strange peace. I put on my wedding dress, the one that cost more than Helen's monthly mortgage payment. I did my makeup slow and careful. I looked in the mirror and I saw a woman who knew exactly what she was worth. The venue was beautiful when I arrived. White flowers everywhere, exactly how I'd ordered them. The chairs were set up perfect. Guests were already arriving. Confused because there were 2 different sets of invitations going around. I walked in through the main entrance and the room went silent. Helen saw me first. Her face went from confident to terrified in about 2 seconds. Trevor was standing at the altar with Angela, both of them in wedding clothes, and his mouth just dropped open. Angela looked at me, looked at Trevor, and you could see her trying to figure out what was happening. I walked down that aisle slow, let everyone get a good look. When I reached the front, I didn't yell, didn't scream. I just smiled at Helen and said, "Did you really think you could have a wedding at my venue without me knowing your venue?" Helen tried to laugh it off. "This is a public venue. Anyone can book it. Anyone with a contract can," I said, "and the only contract they have on file for today is mine under my name. Paid with my money. So technically, Helen, you're trespassing." Trevor finally found his voice. "Baby, let's just talk about this. This is crazy. Crazy." I turned to him. "What's crazy is you trying to marry another woman at the wedding I planned. What's crazy is you using my money to buy her a ring. What's really crazy, Trevor, is that you don't even realize you don't own anything anymore. Angela stepped back. What is she talking about? I opened my purse and pulled out a folder, started reading off the documents. The restaurant on 5th Street, Helen's pride and joy. I own the mortgage, the tech company that Trevor runs. I'm the majority owner. Actually, I'm the only owner. That beach house you two were planning to honeymoon at. My name on the deed. The car you drove here in, Trevor. Leased in my name. Helen's face went pale. You're lying. Am I? I handed her the mortgage papers. Watched her read her own restaurant's deed with my name at the top. You've been paying me for 6 months, Helen. Every single month, that payment you make, it goes into my account. Trevor grabbed the business documents. His hands were shaking as he read through the ownership papers. This can't be real. This is my company. No, baby, I said. And I let that word drip with everything he'd put me through. It's my company. It was failing. Remember, you were about to lose everything. I saved it. I saved you. And I made sure that legally, properly, everything was protected. I just didn't realize I was protecting myself from you. Angela was crying now. You told me you were successful. You told me you owned a company. He does work at a company. I said to her, he just doesn't own it. And that restaurant his mom is so proud of. One missed payment away from foreclosure. A foreclosure I can trigger anytime I want. The guests were silent. Some were recording on their phones. Helen tried to step toward me, but her legs were shaking. You can't do this. That's my family's restaurant. 30 years we've had that place, and you can keep it, I said calmly. For a price. See, I'm not here for revenge, Helen. I'm here for what's mine. You wanted to cancel me. Erase me. Replace me. But you can't cancel someone who holds all the cards. I turned to Trevor. You have a choice. Sign over everything properly. Acknowledge the debt and we can work out a payment plan. You can run the restaurant, Helen. You can work at the company, Trevor, but you'll be paying me every month, every year, until every dollar I invested in you is returned. Or I can foreclose on everything today, right now, and you'll have nothing. Angela took off running. Literally ran out of that venue in her wedding dress. Some of the guests followed her, others just stood there in shock. Trevor looked at his mother and for the first time I saw him see her clearly. See what she'd pushed him to do. See what it cost. Why did you do all this? He asked me. Why did you buy everything? Because I loved you, I said simply. 6 months ago when your world was falling apart. I loved you enough to catch you. I loved you enough to protect our future. I just didn't protect myself from you. Helen sat down in one of the chairs, all that confidence gone. What do you want from us? I want you to know that you don't get to look down on people and then ask them to save you, I said. I want you to understand that the woman you thought wasn't good enough for your son is the only reason you still have a business. And I want you to learn some respect. I laid out the terms right there. They could keep running the restaurant, but they'd pay me rent. Market rate. Trevor could keep his position at the company, but he'd work his way up from the bottom, and every paycheck would have deductions until the personal loans were repaid. The beach house, mine, the car, mine, everything else. We'd divide it legally, properly, the way it should have been done from the start. Helen had no choice but to agree. Trevor signed the papers with shaking hands. I had Candace there as a witness, everything legal and binding. When it was done, I picked up my bouquet from the altar, the one that was supposed to be for Angela, and I walked back down that aisle. At the door, I turned around one last time. You know what the saddest part is? If you had just been honest with me, Trevor, I would have helped you anyway. If you had just loved me the way I loved you, we'd be married right now. But you chose to let your mama choose for you. You made your choice, I told them. You chose to sneak around. You chose to try and replace me. Now you get to live with it. And just like that, I walked away. I left them standing there. left the venue I paid for. Still in my wedding dress, I got in my car and drove straight to Candace's house. We spent the rest of that Saturday eating my wedding cake and laughing, because somehow, the universe always finds a way to balance things out. 3 months later, I'm doing better than I ever was. And yes, I met someone new. His name is Trevor. And the difference. He saw my worth from the start. No chaos. No loss required for him to understand my value. As for the others, Trevor shows up to work every day, at the company I own. He does his job and goes home. Helen runs the restaurant, pays her rent on time, and keeps her distance whenever we cross paths. And that beach house? Yeah, it's mine now. Sometimes I drive past it, just to remind myself of that day, the day everything changed. The day I walked into a wedding that wasn't meant for me, and reminded everyone in that room of one thing: you can't cancel someone who owns the entire show. People ask me if I went too far, if I was too harsh. But let me make this clear. I didn't take anything that wasn't already mine. I didn't scheme. I didn't manipulate. I simply protected myself, legally, smartly, and completely. And when they tried to throw me away, I showed them the receipts. That's how you handle disrespect, with proof. So if this story taught you anything, let it be this: always protect yourself. And never trust blindly without documentation. If you agree, go ahead and hit that like button. Drop a comment below. Did I do the right thing, or did I go too far? And don't forget to subscribe, because next week I've got another story about someone who underestimated the wrong woman. Until then, know your worth, protect your assets, and never let anyone else write your ending.